I was going to tell you, but I know how upset you get about little things.
Little things?
Welcome to Watch Mojo. And today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 movies canceled over unforeseen tragedy.
So the entire crew, they're all out on the bridge, and somebody yells, "A train is coming."
For this list, we'll be looking at the most notable films that were canned due to unexpected real-life adversity. Which of these surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments below. Number 10. Gone in 60 Seconds sequel.
Should have read my horoscope this morning.
15 years after the original, director H.B. Halicki got cameras rolling on a spiritual follow-up to the film that put him on the map. Unfortunately, he never got to see the finished product, and neither would anyone else. Halicki died in a stunt accident partway through production on the sequel, bringing everything to a grinding halt. See, Halicki wasn't just the film's director, he also wrote, produced, and starred in the movies. Without him, there was simply no one left to finish 60 Seconds 2.
Adrian, we have to give Eleanor back.
What are you talking about? The contract's filled.
She's not insured. Here, look for yourself.
Since the original got a loose remake in 2000, it doesn't seem like Halicki's planned reboot will ever see the light of day.
No, don't do this. Don't start with me. Start, come on.
Number 9. Big Bug Man.
I want you to rest well, and a month from now, this Hollywood big shot's gonna give you what you want.
It's too late. They start shooting in a week.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
Marlon Brando has one of the most prolific resumes in film history. Despite that, his final work has never actually been released.
After this, no more jobs. This is the last one I'm doing. I'm quitting for good.
How many times you told me that in 25 years? I mean, I'm gonna believe that when the pigs eat my brother.
In 2004, Brando voiced a corrupt old lady in the upcoming animated film Big Bug Man. But a month after recording his lines, the actor took his final breath.
He would read some lines, go back on oxygen, and he was obviously struggling just to breathe.
Later, Big Bug Man's release was delayed a year, and then it was delayed again and again. To this day, nothing surrounding Big Bug Man's production has ever officially materialized, let alone the film itself. Given the proximity to Brando's death, many theorize the movie was pulled so that his final film role wouldn't be the crotchety Mrs. Sour. Number 8. Don Camillo Six. At the time of their release, the Don Camillo films were some of the highest-grossing features in Italian cinema history. So, returning for a 6th installment was a no-brainer, especially for leading man Fernandel.
Capisco. Ma Polski, la chiesa è aperta, funziona. Qui no.
Libertà di culto.
Così da qui uno che vuole andare alla messa ci deve fare 18 chilometri a piedi.
Unfortunately, the actor fell ill and died before he could complete his work on the film. That didn't spell the end of the franchise, though. Instead, Don Camillo was recast and the proposed 6th installment was entirely reshot. There's no way of knowing for sure how different Fernandel's version of the movie would have been. But since the character was rebooted in the 1980s, Fernandel's tenure as Don Camillo was ending either way.
Che l'abito non fa il monaco. Ma chi lo sa?
E chi lo sa?
Number 7. All the Marbles sequel. In the 60s and 70s, director Robert Aldrich delivered a series of well-received hits like The Longest Yard and Hush Hush Sweet Charlotte. By the 80s, he built up enough goodwill to work on something of a passion project. Introducing All the Marbles.
You know, I had a thought, an idea for you girls. It's not fully realized, but it could be sensational.
We are not getting tattooed, Harry.
The female-led wrestling film didn't exactly KO the competition, but it did well enough to earn a sequel, this time in Japan. But just as Aldrich began developing the finer details, he suddenly passed away due to kidney failure.
Every path has its bottom.
Every path your ass.
A hard beginning maketh a good ending.
Without the movie's biggest supporter to champion it through production, the announced sequel to All the Marbles has never come to be.
You're not leaving, are you?
Yeah, but don't bother to get up.
Number 6. Leningrad, The 900 Days.
Hurrah! Hurrah for the Confederacy! Hurrah! Down with General Grant! Hurrah for General What's your name?
Lee.
Lee! Ah!
Director Sergio Leone was no stranger to ambitious war epics, and this was shaping up to be his best one yet. As if to prove his passion, he personally secured funding, enlisted a cinematographer, and found a worthy composer, all before an official script was even written. In fact, Leone allegedly had the entire opening scene already plotted out, but in a cruel twist of fate, he died of a heart attack just 2 days before he was supposed to officially sign on for the project.
Don't die, I'll get you water. Stay there. Don't move, I'll get you water. Don't die until later.
Another director tried to finish Leone's work, but when funding fell through, the Leningrad adaptation was shelved. It's been collecting dust ever since.
You'll all turn to dust. But one thing is sure, boys. Branston Bridge will stand unbroken.
Number 5. The Addams Family 3.
I would die for her. I would kill for her. Either way, what bliss?
Raul Julia was the perfect father figure for the Addams household. He made Gomez a total scene stealer, which is all the more impressive considering the health issues he faced during production. Unfortunately, he couldn't maintain that forever.
Please, I beg you, take me.
Julia managed to power through the filming of Addams Family Values, but shortly after, he lost his battle with stomach cancer. Yes, the film is creepy and it's kooky, but the Addams were still a family. So without their patriarch, the plans for a third film were immediately scrapped. Instead, the series hibernated for a few years and then returned in Addams Family Reunion with an almost entirely new cast.
Ancestry. The very thing that separates us from the lower animals. Well, that and taxidermy.
Number 4. Romance of the Pink Panther.
Hello, Albin. Your company insures the Pink Panther.
Yes, for £500,000.
Pounds?
Sterling.
Between the years of 1963 and 1978, Peter Sellers brought Inspector Clouseau to life in 5 separate films. If it were up to him, he would have been back for a 6th one too. But all that went up in smoke after Sellers' tragic passing in 1980.
I thought you were dead!
So, as a tribute to my memory, you open up this Chinese nookie factory!
Rather than recasting Clouseau for the already planned Romance of the Pink Panther, the movie was canceled altogether. As a compromise, the series produced Trail of the Pink Panther, which introduced a whole new detective to carry on Clouseau's legacy.
Do you think he's dead? I hope not. What do you think, Sir Charles?
No, men like Clouseau never die. They're indestructible, and that's the way it should be.
Sellers still technically appears via archival footage, but it's safe to say this isn't the 6th Pink Panther film he or his fans were expecting. Number 3. Something's Gotta Give. Ironically, the title of this troubled film is exactly what most were thinking behind the scenes. It's just a shame that something ended up being Marilyn Monroe herself.
Will you have lunch with me?
I bring my lunch to the store.
I'd be so grateful if you'd take it out.
She was allegedly a nightmare to work with on set, to the point she was fired, replaced, and rehired all within the span of a few months. Then, just when the movie seemed to be back on track, Monroe passed away. That proved to be the final nail in the coffin.
No. Aren't you ashamed of those suspicions you had about me?
Terribly.
Something's Gotta Give was officially canceled, and all of its existing materials were repurposed for a new film. Move over, darling.
There wasn't a dry eye in the congregation.
Gosh, I wish I'd been there.
If you had been there, there wouldn't have been a service.
Years later, the original Monroe footage has only ever appeared in documentaries. Number 2. Midnight Rider. The specifics of this one are a bit complicated.
County 911.
Can you get my location where I am? I think we need an ambulance. Well, someone got hit by a train.
Supposedly, director Randall Miller had permission to film in Wayne County, Georgia, but not in the railroad that cut through it, since it was considered a different property. Despite that, Miller's crew set up a scene on the private trestle bridge, which ended up being a fatal mistake. An unexpected train crashed through their set, killing one crew member and injuring several more.
She was killed instantly.
Apparently so.
Later, Miller, among others, were charged with criminal trespassing and involuntary manslaughter. Various producers tried to restart production after the fact, but once star William Hurt backed out, the film shuttered for good.
They will live with the sorrow of Sarah's death for the rest of their lives.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. A Confederacy of Dunces film adaptation.
What's this lying around shit? Well, what the hell is supposed to do, you moron?
War's over, man. Wormer dropped the big one.
What? Over? Did you say over? Nothing is over until we decide it is!
In 1982, John Belushi planned to take this classic picaresque novel to the big screen. But following his premature death, the project was put on hold. It picked up steam again once John Candy became attached, only for it to falter a second time when he died too.
Well, bad news. Big trouble. Let's just keep that to ourselves.
After that, history repeated itself yet again with Chris Farley. That's not a very encouraging pattern.
I seen a badger with paws as big as frying pans. Now that'd rip your face right off! Right off! There's nothing you can do with that!
Scarily enough, most of those actors were also attached to another book adaptation, Atuk. Just like A Confederacy of Dunces, it's stalled in development ever since. At this point, neither of these movies may ever be made, and that might be for the best.